Okay, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing. All right, we sound good. Welcome back, everybody. Sorry, the streaming software just decided to totally just. That was really frustrating there for a second. Okay, well, lost all the viewers I just had, so that's great. But if you're just tuning in, ongoing confirmed tornadoes here in Kansas. We're now down to one. I was just reviewing that on our social media right as the stream was cutting out. We've posted a couple on our social media. WXCastUSA. It's the same handle as our YouTube. It's our Twitter. And there's been some storm spotters and chasers on these storms here in Kansas that unfortunately have reported damage. So that was frustrating. Yeah, I apologize. The streaming software just decided to end. If you're just joining us, we're following tornado warned storms in Kansas right now. We have a new tornado warned storm in southeast Nebraska. This is over the areas east of Schubert, Nebraska, towards the Missouri River here. This is going to cross into the furthest north part of Missouri. But watching rotation near Barada, again, right along the Missouri River here. This is the Missouri River, Missouri and Nebraska. And yeah, that area is going to get a new tornado warning. This is for Mound City in northern Holt County here in northwest Missouri. It is a tornado capable of producing storms 7 miles west of Craig, and that is moving east at 45. Tornado and baseball-sized hail are the main threats. And whoa, yeah, over the river here, right over the Missouri River, along the Nebraska and Iowa border. That is likely baseball-sized hail we're seeing in here with all these blues and bright pink colors. That is a large hailstorm. We're a bit far from the radar, so it's really hard to see the rotation and if anything's on the ground. Where is this close radar? We are looking out of, okay, we're looking out of the radar north in Valley, Nebraska, out of the Omaha area. But the rotation here, it looks like it's crossing the Missouri River here near Corning. This is about to be a problem for Missouri more than Nebraska here in a minute. But if you're in Corning, Craig, Mound City, Big Lake in Missouri, this is northwest Missouri here along I-29. You guys need to be in your safe space here. Craig, Mound City, Big Lake, east or west sides of Campbell Corner. I'd also be in your safe space. Right now, honestly, the rotation is sliding so close to the border here of this tornado warning. I would also maybe be in my safe space if I was over here by Oswalt here in Missouri. So this is well north of the Kansas City area, but it's up along I-29, so a pretty heavily traveled interstate here in the Missouri Valley. Again, we have rotation, looks like it's coming across the Missouri River now, and then even outside of the rotation, there's this giant hail core here with baseball-sized hail. That's going to be a big issue for this county here in northwest Missouri. I want to check on our storm that we're watching here on this camera. This is over the Winterset area right now, Macksburg, areas that had tornadoes before. Watching rotation here, That is an area to watch. Certainly. That is southwest of Macksburg in Iowa. So that is an area to watch here. Looks like the radar's updating. But unfortunately, the storm that was south of Vermilion looks like did hit a house, even though it's largely remained in open country, it looked like, with the visual confirmation of a tornado. That has since lifted. It looks like it's now down to a radar indicated tornado, but still has tornado possible and then tennis ball size hail. So if you're over here in Wetmore, Grenada, Goff, we've called your name out for quite a while. Let me reset the, since the streaming thing kind of ended our first stream there. I think you can even on the camera see some mammatus clouds up in this part of the camera here. Wow, and lightning, big lightning there. That is out ahead of that other storm. Yeah, this is still rotating in here. Okay, we got the update on the radar. So the good news is it looks like the hail core has come down a little bit, but there's still rotation showing up between Goff and Wetmore, Kansas, down here. So likely this is radar indicated. It's likely not producing a tornado at the very second. Again, we see meteorological targets, so these are good sign. There's nothing co-located with that velocity scan at the moment, but this could easily put down another tornado. If it does, it'd be coming towards Wetmore and maybe Netawaka, Kansas. Down, so if you're in this area, Goff, Wetmore, and down Highway 9 here towards Wettawaka and even Whitting along US 75, you guys need to watch out for that storm. Big storm headed towards Topeka, and there is now a tornado warning on the back edge of that storm. We called out rotation earlier near Delia. Yeah, that one picked up a little bit. You can see there is a little bit of a tightening of that rotation here, right in there. And that's kind of slid south a little more than the storm. It's now broadened back out though, so good news there. But this storm is definitely capable of producing tornadoes again. We had a damaging tornado, I think, when the stream cut out. So thanks to the viewers coming back. Unfortunately, there was a damaging tornado. We watched it on the radar have a debris ball go through Westmoreland, Kansas. And I don't know if it picked it up on the stream, on the last stream. It was cutting out right when I was talking about it. There's chasers on it that said the tornado sucked up one of the sewer grates out of the street. So those are those big metal, sewer grate things, and sometimes they're not concreted in, but they're sometimes tarred in. So I mean it's like those things are probably 100 pounds of steel anyway, and then a lot of times they're tarred in. That's a pretty powerful tornado, especially because it's at the ground level of a street. So we'll update you on social media if we get more news out of Westmoreland, but it does sound like the town took a direct hit from at least a decently powerful tornado. And certainly we'll update you when the National Weather Service rates that thing. With a damage indicator like that, I can't think on the top of my head what a damage indicator like that would rate for such a low level, surface level damage. There was some rotation picking up in these storms near Wichita. And there's one that's a tornado warning storm. So let's take a look at this one here. Moving east at 25, tornado and golf ball size hail. This is coming over towards Whitewater. So Whitewater, Kansas, you guys need to be in your tornado safety. This is along 135 here south of Newton, Kansas. So if you're between Newton and Whitewater, McLean, Annalee, and Whitewater, you guys need to take your tornado safety measures. There's your rotation in here. We are checking out confirmed tornadoes in Kansas right now. Thanks for joining us. Sorry again if you were on the first stream. We got some viewers are trickling back in, but yeah, we had a good conversation going and a good stream, and then it kind of just, the streaming software just completely died. So checking out some of the rotation here near the Wichita area is a little bit concerning, but that one is a bit broad. We're watching, though, the tornado warned storm here near McLean. It's losing its punch a little bit, so that is good news. It's a bit broad here near McLean and radar indicated. So let's continue down the line. These are going to be more and more severe thunderstorm warnings along here. Basically, yeah, the storms north of I-80 have not been as strong as the storms south of I-80. So Des Moines may get lucky here that these actually might split you guys. The storm here south of Jefferson definitely producing some hail. 1-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Not showing a lot of rotation, so that's good news. The storms northern Iowa here have not been tornadic as much as the other storms. So this storm here has had tornado warnings at times. It does have some circulation near Macksburg. That would be headed over towards Winterset, East Peru, St. Charles, New Virginia, Churchville, Martinsdale. This should actually, it's gone a little more east, and especially the bigger hail is going a little more east. So this should slide well south of Des Moines. We're watching our camera here from the Route 5 and 35 right here, an area that had a EF1 tornado the other day. We're watching that storm slide south of us. And actually, I can see if there's a better camera. We can see if we can get a camera down on the other side. Let's see here. The problem is that most of these cameras south of there face north-south along the interstate, so yeah, that's our best camera, I think. At least right now. Okay, I'll pull it back up. It's our best camera right now, even though it's a little bit further from the storm. But that storm is sliding south of our camera. It should slide south of our camera. New severe thunderstorm warning for this area around Tingley, Grand River, north of Mount Ayr. A little bit of rotation in that. We'll have to keep watching that one. They're going to extend the tornado warning here near Goff. This is an area here that we mentioned earlier, so towards Netawaka and towards Whitting. We called you guys out earlier. Now it's time to take your tornado action plan. So if you're along Highway 9 here, Goff, down to Wetmore and Whitting and Netawaka, it's time to take that tornado action plan. In addition to that, we still got the 2-inch hail. Holton is also in this warning, so Holton, Wetmore, Whitting, and Netawaka, tornado and 2-inch hail. The circulation is actually right over Wetmore, Kansas right now. Again, this has produced a tornado before. We have some chasers out in that area, so we've posted a few of those videos. A couple tornadoes have been damaging here in Kansas, unfortunately. This one produced a tornado that damaged a house near Vermillion, Kansas. It was a pretty much a very stereotypical cone tornado out in the Kansas countryside, but even though it didn't go through a town, it unfortunately went through a house. And then if you're just joining us, we had a debris ball on the tornado that went through Westmoreland. That storm is not producing a tornado at the moment, but has a tornado warning south of Delia right now. It's sliding southeast towards the Topeka metro. But again, back here near Westmoreland, residential structures were reported damage, and we had chasers on that showed a damaging tornado, and even the sewer cover was sucked out of the road. So a pretty powerful tornado there in Kansas. We also want to check on our tornado warned storm here in northwest Missouri. This is near the Mound City area. It's also being warned for over 2-inch hail. Let's see. This is in a radar hole, but the rotation is now sliding east of Craig as best we can see it from this radar. You can definitely see the hail up in here. And also just a report here out of Corning for 70+ mile-an-hour winds. So this storm has 70 mile-an-hour winds reported by law enforcement. This is generally sliding towards Mound City. Big Lake, I think this is going to go north of Big Lake. Where we're seeing the circulation here near Craig, I'd be more concerned if I was in Skidmore and Maitland. You guys need to start thinking about that tornado action plan. Mound City, you guys need to be in your tornado safe space, even though it looks like it may go north of the Mound City downtown. You guys need to stay in your safe space. And then certainly if you're between Mound City and Skidmore, definitely stay in your tornado safe space here. But yeah, we're not going to get much here. This is so far from the radar site. It's just going to be tough to confirm that through a CC, so we'll have to rely on spotters to see that one. They're going to extend the tornado warning here for the Topeka area. Unfortunately, this is sliding. It seems like every time we check this storm, it slides further south. We looks like have a developing tornado near Rossville along Highway 24. This new warning includes Rossville, Silver Lake, Menoken, and areas here just west of downtown Topeka. And Topeka yourself, I would also start to get into your tornado safe space. So tornado warning for areas here northwest sides of Topeka. And that includes areas up along 75 and out along US 24. That is a pretty tight signature here. We can zoom in on it near Grove. It's going to slide between Grove and Rossville. Right in this hook here. Yeah, that is a pretty strong signature. So we're going to wait another scan or two. Let's see what the correlation coefficient does. But this, I would not be surprised if this is close to being on the ground here. So we likely have a tornado that's close to being on the ground here in the Topeka metro. Let's see here what if I can get any confirmation on it, we can, but that's a pretty tight signature coming out of the Topeka metro here. Not seeing anything yet. So that's good. But let's check in here. Our CC is still holding pretty regular, so that's a good sign. Again, this is a tornado warning here coming north of Rossville, Grove, Silver Lake, Cairo, Valencia, Menoken, Elmont, into the areas here just west of downtown Topeka. You guys need to be in your tornado safe space here. Tornado warning here for Topeka. That is northwestern Shawnee County and east central Kansas and southwestern Jackson County. Moving southeast at 20, and it's near Rossville. So taking a look at this, pretty good rotation in here. And where is our closest radar? Our closest radar is actually right south of it. So we're seeing a pretty good angle of the storm. We're seeing the winds away from the radar here, and then we're seeing the winds coming towards the radar here. So our rotation and our tornado would be right in here. And that's exactly the hook that we're finding there. Still not seeing a CC drop. I don't think this is on the ground. Just the look of it compared to the rest of the storm looks about the same. There's a couple blue interesting values in here that if those deepen, I would be more concerned. But I don't think it is right now. I think that may just be, there's some large hail in this storm. So this may be wrapping a few hailstones down into this. But if that gets a little deeper in the CC value, then we could have a tornado on the ground. It's a bit broad right now. We're finding that little bit of gray between the brightest greens and the brightest reds. You can see there's some bright reds here, and there's a bunch of bright greens here. So these are all headed towards the radar. These are headed away from the radar. There is a little area here that's a little bit closer to touching. That's where I would guess the tornado would be, in this little area here. And again, not seeing the CC drop at the moment. So that's a good sign. A good sign that at least it may not be on the ground yet. All right, checking on our storm up here near Wetmore, Kansas. This is looking a lot less interesting at the moment. I want to check in again on our storm here. Radar indicated still near Mound City. And see if we can pick this storm up from the Kansas City radar. It's very hard to pick this storm up. It's on the edge of two different radar sites. But Mound City up to Maitland and even Skidmore, I would be in your safe space. The storm, beyond producing a tornado potential, has had 70-mile-an-hour winds and baseball-sized hail. So especially towards Skidmore and Maitland, that looks like where the hail core is going. Your tornado is probably sitting down in this little notch right here, if there is one. But again, it's going to be very hard this far away from the radar site to really get a good detailed look at that rotation. South of Des Moines. Des Moines, you're okay right now. But you have the big storms here south of Des Moines near Winterset. That's going to head over towards New Virginia and Indianola. We're watching that storm on our camera, looking south-southwest. You can see the storm here down along I-35. That's our closest working camera right now to that storm that shows it really good. There's a couple cameras that are pretty close to it. One is not registering right now, and then the other one is basically just showing the road. So that one actually shows at least some of the cloud structure. A new severe thunderstorm watch that covers most of north central Missouri and the Kansas City metro. These, I mentioned it earlier, we had a stream issue, so thanks for joining us if you're now joining the second stream. But the biggest tornado threats are going to be out of these individual cells. And also I'd include the few cells that are up in Iowa right now. But these cells in here and the one near Winterset are probably your best chances of tornadic development. And so far, these two have been your best chances. They've actually produced damaging tornadoes today, and we've seen those on our first stream. But they're a little bit more discreet, so they're tapping a lot more of this energy here and this environment. The storms here from Topeka south to Wichita are starting to cluster together. If they continue to cluster together, we're really going to have to watch for a damaging wind threat that would extend out through Emporia, Osage City, Ottawa, and down into maybe even to the Pittsburgh and Joplin area in southeast Kansas. We also have individual cells down here, and they pose an all hazards risk, especially if they can develop, and they are starting to rip open here along the boundary here in western Oklahoma. We have tornado warnings now out for the areas around New Cordell, Corn, Colony, and also beyond a tornado, we have 3-inch hail reported by broadcast media. That is devastating hail. Not seeing this. Okay, yeah, there was a stronger area rotation back in there near New Cordell that maybe has weakened. Well, watch that one. And then also we have a strong tornado possible here down near Hobart in southwestern Oklahoma. This is northern Kiowa County. These storms down here are not moving that fast either. We can play back the last hour or so. And yeah, they haven't really moved that much in the last hour. So that is also going to pose a flood threat out here. And also this is damaging. It means if you're getting 3-inch hail a couple minutes ago, you have a chance that you're still getting 3-inch hail. Especially in this storm here, Hobart to Babs. This is a pretty strong hail core in here. And then checking out circulation. This one has a better circulation. Let's see, where is our closest radar? Okay, we're seeing our rotation here from the Wichita Falls radar. It's not super strong, but if it is in here, it'd be in this area here near Babs. We have our winds going away from the radar, and then we have our winds coming towards the radar. So this area near Babs is where the rotation is sitting. That's south of Hobart in southwestern Oklahoma. Again, we're watching especially down here in West Texas and the Red River. Large hail is the main threat, although these storms, if they can remain discreet, can also rotate and pose a bit of a tornadic risk. But not seeing as big of a tornado threat down in West Texas. The storms down in Oklahoma are a bit of a tornado risk too, that they're individual and in a decent environment. This area up here near Watonga and Hitchcock looks like it has a larger hail core. Also some rotation in it, but not rotating like the storm down near Hobart. Wichita right now is getting hammered. This is a pretty good storm coming into Wichita. Especially the areas just north of Wichita, Park City, Whitewater, up towards Cedar Point. This storm had some rotation on it earlier, but not seeing as much. Yeah, if these start clustering up, that's a good news, at least for tornadoes, if you're out east. And this area in southeast Kansas has had a number of tornadoes over the weekend. A lot of them were fairly small, but this area had a ton of tornado warnings from Cedar Valley, Eureka, Humboldt, Fredonia, Chanute, Iowa, Independence. So they don't need any more. Hopefully, if this can line out a little bit, the tornado threat will decrease. Watching this area, though, this is a tornado-warned storm just northwest of Topeka. And still rotating in here near Silver Lake and Grove. It looks a little bit broad. This storm has tried to tighten up a few times. You can see here it was much tighter. It was probably pretty close to producing a tornado at this point, but then it has broadened out. So that is good sign here as it's coming towards Silver Lake, Kiro, and Menachem, and also the areas here just west of downtown Topeka. You guys still need to be in your safe space, though. This can easily tighten back up. North of Topeka, if you're up along 75 towards Hoyt and Mayetta, and eventually over towards Meridian and Rock Creek, you guys all need to be into your room away from windows because there's a pretty good hail core and these purple colors coming towards you guys. Mayetta, Hoyt, Rock Creek, and Meridian, the tornadic part of the storm would be south of you guys if it does continue that trajectory south and east. So you don't have to worry right now about a tornadic threat, but yeah, damaging hail is a potential. And if you're in this tornado warning, Rossville, Silver Lake, Menoken, and West Topeka, you guys need to take it seriously. This storm has produced a damaging tornado, at least one. a damaging tornado here as it went through the town of Westmoreland, Kansas, producing pretty extensive damage. Again, we will post once we get it in a day or two the rating from that National Weather Service on that storm, but still some rotation here near Netawaka over towards Whitting. This storm is moving a lot slower than it did before, but it also looks a lot less impressive. It still has some good hail in it, but this storm may be on the downtrend, so that is a good sign. One storm that does seem to be on the uptrend is the storm to its north has some broad rotation. So watching this area rotation near Willis, if that picks up, it would be headed over towards Purcell, Leona, Denton, and Robinson. That should slide south of you guys. Everest and Willis. You guys all need to be paying attention to this storm. Definitely, it's a severe thunderstorm with over 1 inch hail. So you need to be away from doors and windows into your room. And yeah, if you're out ahead of this, Leona, Denton, Purcell, and even Everest, I would just start thinking about your tornado safety measures here. Be ready to act on those. If that rotation picks up, it would be headed generally your direction towards the Purcell and Denton area. Missouri has been dropped to a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag. The large hail, we mentioned you guys earlier, Maitland and Skidmore. Hopefully you guys are inside and away from those windows because that is baseball-sized hail coming your way. And then some pretty large storms here along I-35 in Iowa. Rotation is showing a little bit here near Grand River. That is one to watch, but that has large hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds between Grand River and eventually over towards Garden Grove in Iowa. And then watching these two large hailstorms near Macksburg and Lorimer. That is probably some 2-inch hail coming towards you. And then large hail near East Peru, Truro, and St. Charles. That area of worst weather is now sliding east of Winterset. We're watching that storm. That storm is on our camera right now, looking down I-35. So we're watching that storm. A little bit of rain. Our camera is right here at 35 and Route 5 in West Des Moines. And we're looking southwest, so we're looking down kind of towards the storm. A little bit of rain in that area, but West Des Moines and Des Moines proper right now are out of storms. We're going to have to watch, though, back building here near Stewart. Those could go severe, and then they would go into Des Moines. There's also a nasty storm up here between Jefferson, Grand Junction, and Perry and Woodward. That storm has a bit of a shear line that we need to watch. But right now, not showing tight rotation. But we need to watch that one. And also this one probably has some 2-inch hail coming towards the Berkeley, Iowa area. Being warned for 1-inch hail right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if that upscales. So that is a quick look at everything. Good news here is, yeah, we weren't seeing the rotation like we did before near Netawaka and Whitting. So this is going to get replaced with a severe thunderstorm tornado possible tag. Still, if you're in your safe space, just hold on for a few more minutes. If you're already down there, you got some large hail pretty much over you in Whitting and Netawaka. Netawaka, actually, you might be just sliding away from the storm. But Whitting, stay in your safe space just a few more minutes. Let this storm pass, and then you guys will be all in the clear. Really watching this storm here as it comes towards the Topeka area. We can check again on its rotation. So it's a lot broader than it was before. We really don't have that couplet anymore. We have a bit of a shear zone here. The storm may be rotating in general, but it's not any tight rotation at the moment. This is still one to watch, though, and definitely some large hail over towards Hoyt. I'm less concerned with the storm here at least in the near term. But if this tries to wrap itself up again, it could easily drop another tornado. So we need to still stay in our safe space. Rossville, Silver Lake, Topeka. And then down into Wichita, this is a nasty storm near Bel Air and Park City. Not really showing rotation, but there's definitely some larger hail in here. And then this is going to be a gusty wind issue, especially if these storms continue to cluster together. It's also going to be just a nightmare to travel on I-35 between Wichita and Topeka here pretty shortly. Still 2 tornado warned storms in Oklahoma. The one dropped 3-inch hail a little while ago. Not seeing a lot of rotation in this, and it looks like this storm is going to be replaced with a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag. This storm looks like it is downtrending. We don't see those pinks and purples in the hail core anymore, so that's a good sign that that storm has maybe done its worst. But yeah, 3-inch hail reported by broadcast media. The storm that's south near Hobart is still packing a punch and still shows rotation in here between Hobart, Babs, and Roosevelt. The big problem here is this is going to be a flood threat, and yeah, there's a flood warning now that covers Hobart and Babs in this area, because this area has really it's been just pouring rain. This storm has basically been stationary for, let's see, that's the last about a half hour. It's just been basically sitting there, so we really haven't had much movement, and that's why these tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings continue, and now a flash flood warning. We can take a look here and see. Oof. Probably a good 2.5 inches of rain. At least about 2. I'd say 2 to 2.5 inches of rain have already fallen here near Hobart, Oklahoma. And this is a slightly drier part of the country. So this area here in western Oklahoma, the Texas Panhandle, this is not like places in Mississippi or Alabama or Florida where they get easily 2 inches of rain and then it that's kind of normal. This is a pretty higher precip for this area. Good news is not seeing much in that storm. That storm may have rained itself out. Let's go back. I guess it's just been doing its thing. It hasn't really grown, but it hasn't done much either. This area had some large hail and tornadoes around Seymour, Texas over the weekend. Good news is not seeing a lot of rotation, but you got another big hailstorm near you. And then if you're out on I-20 near Big Spring and Sweetwater, that is a large hail-producing thunderstorm near Colorado City. There's also storms all the way back into West Texas and even into Mexico now. That one may actually slide up across the border, so that one is one to watch. But near Iran, Texas, some rotation in this, but this is mostly a large hail-producing thunderstorm. 2-inch hail and 70-mile-an-hour winds. That is also heavily traveled. That is right along I-10 in West Texas, so that is not a good spot. These storms tend to be out in the deserts, and there's really very little population. So this one is actually affecting some people here between the Iran, Texas area along I-10 here. That is some likely baseball plus size hail that is coming down. We're seeing the rain on the camera here on our traffic cam. I think we covered almost every storm here from top to bottom. So that's a good sign. We'll go back real quick, look at our Des Moines area. Yeah, we're looking back into that storm. We're getting a little bit of light rain here on our traffic camera right at 35 and Route 5, looking to the south. So we're looking down towards the storm, almost on the back end of it now. Towards St. Charles, Iowa, that is where your hail core is, south of St. Mary's, between St. Mary's and New Virginia. That's also along I-75. And then very concerned about Lorimer, Iowa. That is likely some baseball-sized hail coming at you. And that eventually is going to be over along 35, probably close to New Virginia if that one holds together. Seeing also a severe thunderstorm with large hail near Grand River coming up towards Van Wert and Weldon. That is a large storm in the southern counties here of Iowa. That one also has some broad rotation near Grand River. We're going to have to watch that one. It's the furthest south in this cluster that's been developing, so it may have the best tornadic potential. We can also check this storm near New Virginia. It's rotating a bit. So we're going to have to watch this area here from Truro over to New Virginia. For that area rotation, it's not super tight right now, but if that tightens back up, that could be an issue. Large hailstorm west of St. Joseph, Missouri right now. This is over towards Leona. If that continues to slide your way, that could come into St. Joseph. Another large hailstorm near Whitting. It was tornado warned earlier. Produced a damaging tornado south of Vermilion. That is no longer tornadic, so that is one good thing. And then we've had an extension of the tornado warning, but also a bit of a readjustment. Yeah, the rotation has kind of tucked back into the storm. It's going through a bit of a reorganization here. So you can see the hook has also kind of tucked back into the storm. So it's looking messy right now. It doesn't look like it's imminently about to produce a tornado in the next 30 seconds, but it could in time. So north of Silver Lake, north of Topeka, basically if you're north of the Kansas River, yeah, pretty good with my geography. I remember stuff. If you're north of the Kansas River in the Topeka area, you're going to want to be in your tornado safe space up to Rock Creek, anywhere up along US 75, and then also Kansas 4. If you're headed north of Topeka, you guys need to be in your safe space here. That's Hoyt, Elmont, Meridian, Grantsville, Rock Creek. I know we called Meridian earlier, so hopefully people have been taking notice of that. And I would also be in my safe space if I was in Monocan and North Topeka, Grantsville, maybe even Tecumseh. Topeka itself, should slide just north of you guys, but yeah, if you're north of the Kansas River here in the Topeka area, that's Monocan and North Topeka. It's a little too close to comfort for me personally. If I was living there, I would be in my tornado safe space. It's just a little too close to call. Topeka itself, you may get some small hail, but gusty winds coming in with this storm. That is a nasty looking storm as well. And then still watching this area now, south of Wichita, we have a new storm that's gone tornado warned. And I want to take a look at this. So it's literally a new storm. About 15 minutes ago, it was just a thunder shower or near Douglas. This is how quickly in a atmosphere like we have right now, this is in such a volatile atmosphere, how quickly these storms can upscale. 15 minutes ago, thunder shower. Now, tornado warned storm here between Douglas and Augusta along US 400. This is a really well-traveled highway here. 400 goes into Wichita, and then this goes out to Joplin, Missouri area where it connects with 44. So watching for rotation, it looks like over the Douglas area. Yeah. Rotation in here, it looks like it was pretty tight when it started to develop over the Douglas area. And right now we're getting a little bit of range folding, so it's hard to see what exactly is going on over Douglas right now. These reds and stuff, that means there's not actually data coming in. It's probably because the radar is under the gun right now. Yeah, there's a big storm right over the radar site. So we're not getting a great look at this storm, but over the Douglas area, this will be coming up towards Beaumont and Latham in Kansas here, east of Wichita. You guys all need to be taking your tornado safety measures. In addition, this could have ping pong ball sized hail. Douglas moving northeast at 35. So let me take that out. I'll take it out, this area east of Douglas. east at 35, well, northeast at 35. That puts it to Beaumont in about 40 minutes. So Beaumont, you're right at the edge of this tornado warning. You have a little bit of time to get to your tornado safe space. If you're in Latham, about 25 minutes, and you're going to get the storm first. The tornadic part of the storm is back on its southwest side, so you have 25 minutes till the tornadic part of the storm gets you, but you're going to have less time until that rain and hail. So definitely time to start taking your tornado action plans. And then definitely if you're closer here, you need to be taking them immediately. Bloomington and Bois d'Arc. Also Wingate, you're in this warning, although the storm is most likely going to slide to the north of Wingate. Checking back in on our Topeka storm. Let me double check and make sure these are the only... We have 3 tornado warnings at the moment. 2 are in Kansas, and then 1 is Kiowa County, still near the Hobart area. Still rotating down south of Hobart. It's basically the same area that we've said before. Babs up to Hobart. This area is still rotating. It's broad, but it's there. So definitely one to watch. Okay, yeah. So these are the only 2 storms right now that are tornadically more concerning at the moment. And this one is starting to pick up some rotation here. So this one is it's tried a few times to tighten back up, but we do have rotation that is showing up here north of Minokan, near the Elmont area. That's in the little notch here. So we have some warm inflow coming in like this. It has its outflow coming down like this, and then your rotation is right in there. And that's where it is. Not particularly tight or powerful right now, but there's also some strong winds up here near Elmont that likely have some wind-driven hail in it. That's going to be sliding over towards Meridian. So that's why you need to be in the tornado safe space here if you're in Rock Creek, Meridian, Grantsville, because this storm is a pretty powerful thunderstorm. And if it tightens up just a little more, it could be a big issue. Luckily, it's just not quite got its act together recently, but this storm has a history. It's produced a damaging tornado over Westmoreland right now. Or not right now, but about, when was this? 4:41 Central Time, so about an hour and a half ago. Taking a look at our Des Moines area storms. This one here is a bit concerning near New Virginia. It's definitely picked up in its rotation, but it's still a bit... The one near Murray is also rotating a bit. So these 2 storms are worth watching here. Near Thayer and Murray, that one has large hail now coming across the Lorimer area, just north of Murray. That's going to slide just probably south of New Virginia. And then the storm with the large hail near St. Charles is headed generally towards Milo and Liberty Center. If rotation picks up, it's over New Virginia right now. That would also be headed towards Liberty Center and Lacona. This is all well south of Des Moines right now. Des Moines, our camera is located right here at Iowa 5 and I-35. You can even see some sunshine showing on the back end. We're looking kind of down this way behind the storm now. Still some other storms here west of Des Moines. Those may pose a threat to you. And then this is a very interesting looking storm. It's had some broad rotation. One area that's a little tighter right up in here north of Woodward. Yeah, that's an area to watch right in there. You can see it's actually in the hook of this storm. So this storm is a rotating thunderstorm with a hook echo. It's just not quite to the level of a tornado warning yet. But it has tightened since we last looked at this storm. So if you're over here towards Luther, Kelly, Ames, Ames, Iowa, that's a pretty big... That is a college town. That is a large college town. If you got a chance here to put some cars in the garage or the parking garage, the parking deck, that would be good because the hail core here is coming right along US 30 towards you. So that is a dangerous storm coming your way. If that rotation intensifies, that likely was going to slide south of Ames. That would head towards the Kelly area here in central Iowa. But either way, out ahead of this, Ames, Kelly, Huxley, definitely a storm to pay attention to here is backed by Ogden, Luther, and Boone. So that is a dangerous storm. These ones here have some potential for tornadic development. The one still is rotating broadly near Grand River and Decatur City along I-35. That's headed towards Leone and Garden Grove with some large hail. New hail, 1.75-inch hail. That's going to cover both those storms near Indianola. Yeah, that's golf ball size hail. And we've had history of it. We're going to see a bunch of these hail signature reports come in. These are all hail signature reports from these two storms. This storm has some hail signature reports. The storms near Maryville also produced some large hail back here. So today's primary threat was large hail, damaging winds, and then a smaller tornado chance. Actually, I can show you guys that real quick. Since we're down to just one tornado warning, actually two still in Kansas. The enhanced risk area covers basically the Topeka area, Kansas City, up through Des Moines, and areas east of Omaha. That's your enhanced risk area. And that area had the largest tornado chance. The 5% tornado chance was mostly in the enhanced risk area, a little bit wider than that though. That actually stretched over to the Omaha area and even up to Minnesota, to the border with Iowa and Minnesota near the areas south of Rochester. And also that tornado threat does include the area that has a tornado warning now near the Wichita area. That is your biggest tornadic threat, and that's where most of our tornadic storms have been. That also does stretch into the Kansas City area, so you need to watch out for that later in Kansas City. And then we've had a couple warnings here in these storms. These are mostly a hail-producing area here in West Texas and western Oklahoma. But we have had some rotation in these storms periodically out between Altus and Elk City. That storm does seem to be on the downtrend a little bit, so that's good to see here in Oklahoma, a state that's gotten very hard hit before over the weekend. Still broad rotation, it's still just sitting here. So this is a major flood threat developing here near Hobart. In that situation, if you're in a tornado warning and a flash flood warning, you have to go to the lowest level, most interior room of the lowest dry level. So you don't want to get stuck in a basement if your basement is flooding out. You may actually have to go up a level to the first floor. You don't want to drown while you're in a tornado warning. That can be a dangerous situation. It's going to be a personal decision that someone may have to make in this area with a tornado warning. And 3 inches of rain now reported here, well, by the radar site, indicating about 3 inches of rain south of Hobart. Last we looked, it was about 2 inches, so it's gone another inch in the last, say, half hour since we looked at this storm. It's probably raining at least an inch an hour in this area. South of Hobart along US 183 towards Babs. You guys really need to not just be taking the tornado chance seriously, but also taking the flood threat seriously. Some new hail-producing thunderstorms coming up towards Vernon, Texas. I want to check in on our tornado warned storm here near Wichita. Not seeing that rotation like we did earlier here around the Douglas area. That seems to have weakened dramatically as it's come across the Douglas area. It was a lot tighter earlier, and then it's really basically disappeared. There may be some new rotation actually showing up now south of Douglas near Rock. in the storm that's now south of Douglas. Yeah, the storm that has gone through Douglas has significantly weakened, but you can see the uptick here a little bit. So we'll watch that storm, but overall that looks a lot less imminent here. Big hailstorm here near Winfield, Kansas. And then these are some large, we're starting to see a better picture of these storms since they're now, the radar is here in western Wichita at the Wichita airport. We're now seeing a bigger picture of the hail and rain coming out of this. Andover, Towanda, Bel Air, now areas just east of Wichita. That is some pretty significant rain and hail likely in there. And then also having to watch out for some gusty winds. Like the other day in Oklahoma, we're also going to have to be cautious of what's becoming a cluster of storms and then some individual cells out ahead of that. Really have to watch cell mergers in these cases, especially these storms are moving a little more north and these storms are moving a little more east. So there's already a bit of built-in local vorticity that increases when you have storms meeting each other from different directions. That can often lead to an increase in tornadoes, and we saw that in Oklahoma this weekend with some violent tornadoes. Let me see here. Let's see. New tornado warning. This is going to be for that same storm. It's going to stretch out a little bit towards Mountain View and Gatibo, and also north sides of Cooperton in southwest Oklahoma. It does seem to be finally picking up a little bit more. This has been sitting over the same area. It's also been rotating, but broadly over this area. And it does seem like there's a little bit more rotation in here. There also, let's see, tennis ball size hail. 6 miles north of Roosevelt, moving east at 15. Honestly, yeah, it's this area of rotation here along US 183. Honestly, moving east at 15 is a bit generous. This is dangerously just sitting here. Yeah, this is over the last half hour plus. It's just been sitting here. It is putting out a bit of a boundary here. That it's actually putting out its own rain-cooled boundary because it's sitting here so much. We'll have to see what that does to the rotation. That may propagate this rotation. If there is rotation, it may propagate a little more south where its rain-cooled boundary interacts with its own inflow. That could actually increase it, and it has a bit better structure than it did a few minutes ago. So we really do have to watch this. That could tighten up south of Hobart, between Hobart and Roosevelt. We have new tornado warnings also for the Topeka area. This storm has slid through oh, yeah, that is definitely wrapping up a lot tighter now. So north sides of Topeka, we called you guys out a long time ago, especially North Topeka, Tecumseh, Grantville, Meridian, Lakeside Village now. This shifts a little bit further east, this new warning. Perry, Tecumseh. The downtown Topeka is back in the warning, as well as Menoken. Menoken, you were not in the last warning, and I mentioned you guys should probably still be in your safe space, as well as like North Topeka. It was just too close for my comfort. Well, that seems to have come true. They broadened out the warning again. This also includes Big Springs, Grover, Newman, Grantville, Lecompton here in east central Kansas. Good news is the storms currently east of Wichita are non-tornadic. And right now, no tornado warnings in Iowa. Although there's a couple storms that we're watching on. So I'm going to focus in right now on the Topeka storms. We can check on Puerto Rico in a little bit. We've been working at one point here, multiple confirmed damaging tornadoes in Kansas. And we may have another one starting to develop here between North Topeka and Grantville and Meridian. So if you're out ahead of this, Lakeside Village, Lake Ridge, Thompsonville, Newman, Perry, Grover, Lecompton, and Big Springs, we really need to be taking our tornado safety precautions. North side of Topeka, this is starting to look like a couplet here. Yeah, we may have a developing tornado here. This is also going to be a big messy storm. It's back in the rain, so it's going to be hard to see this storm too. Let me see if I can get a camera that way. Yeah, if things settle down here in a little bit, I can check on Puerto Rico for you. But I haven't seen any severe thunderstorm warnings coming out of Puerto Rico yet. All right, working on getting a couple traffic cams in here. Let's see. I would like to do it this way. I'm guessing with Topeka being a pretty major city here in Kansas, I'm guessing we might have a decent shot at this. Yeah, we're gonna have a decent look at this. Let's see here. If we have a camera that is working. Okay, we might have an upgrade here. Yeah, let me take this camera. Looks like we're going to get an update. Let's see, this is at 6:36. Thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located 3 miles northwest of Grantville, moving east at 15. So you're going to be in a tornado warning for a little while. But yeah, this is what I've been seeing earlier. This is just near the Grantville area. And it's getting decently tight here. We have our radar site is back here. We also have high winds likely going over Topeka right now. And I'm going to get a update our camera filters here for a second. Okay. Okay, this is a shot basically North Topeka here. That is a live look at North Topeka right now. So it is coming down. That's out of the North Topeka Minokan area. Looking actually back towards our rotation, although it's in the rain. We're here at Route 75 and US 24. So that is a look here at what the conditions. So you're not going to see this tornado. If you are out ahead of this, you need to be in your tornado safe space. You are not going to see this tornado coming. It is still a bit broad. Let's go check. Yeah, this is a messy storm. The rotation is sitting back here near Grantville in the rain. So you're not going to see this coming. No debris signature showing up on the CC. Again, these are all meteorological targets. So the reds and pink colors are saying, the radar is saying it's happy. It's saying all these look the same. All these are water droplets or small hail. Nothing that indicates any debris. However, very quickly we can start to see if this tightens up just a little more, it's really trying to produce a tornado here in the areas here just north of Topeka. We can also see the hail core and actually even a little bit of this hail starting to wrap around the circulation. Yeah, this is we're pretty close to the radar site, so we can get a decent view at this of not just the rotation at the lower level of the mesocyclone, but we can also get a sense of the rotation of the actual supercell itself. So there's more of the couplet here. We have the greens are going towards the radar, and the yellows and reds are going away from the radar. So also we have a pretty good size amount of gusty winds and severe winds possibly coming towards Grantsville. But this area here is definitely rotating. If that tightens up a little bit more, that could be a big problem for the areas here just north of Topeka. Also have to watch out, it may be trying to produce a new inflow notch, in which case we have to watch out further south and east. That is basically a cyclic supercell. It's really tried to produce a few tornadoes, and it already has produced a damaging tornado back in Westmoreland, Kansas. So I heard other warnings going off. It looks like right now all of our tornado warnings are located in Kansas and Oklahoma right now. I still want to check in on our flood threat tornado warned storm. It is definitely trying again. You can see here it's inflow, and then it's outflow here on the rear flank downdraft. It is trying to produce a new circulation, but it's also struggling because it's sat here so long. It's rain cooling its own environment. So we really have to watch that storm as it's basically just sitting here. Probably close to 4 inches of rain in that area near Hobart, Oklahoma. We have a new tornado warning in this area east of Wichita, south and east of Wichita. This was another storm that we had to worry about. We had to worry about this storm, and this has picked up in intensity here. So near the Winfield area, Kellogg, Udall, this is a pretty good circulation. It's hard to tell if that one's on the ground or not. That one may be close to producing a tornado here. This would be going towards Floral, New Salem, Winfield, Tisdale, Burden, Atlanta, and Udall. You guys all need to be in your safe space here. If that holds together, it could be up towards the Wingate and Latham area eventually. It's pretty tight rotation. Now you can see again, this one has winds coming towards the radar and then going out. Your signature is right here in the reflectivity that's sitting in the little hook echo notch. There is some smaller CC values, but this is also is somewhat of a rain-free area here. So we need to check this again as we're going to get an update. So here's our CC drop. And now it would be here with the reflectivity moving on. Yeah, not seeing it on the ground yet. Okay, there's the velocity that updated. Yeah, so I think we're still good. It's again, we're not seeing anything that says it's non-meteorological targets. So likely still just rain showing up on the on that. But this would be, if it does produce a tornado, it would be just south of Dale. So if you're in Dale, Kansas, Akron, Floral, Wilmot, New Salem, this is southeast of Wichita. That is a tornado warned storm there. And then, yeah, we need to watch here. This line is starting to interact with these cells out in front. So sometimes this this pen tool has a mind of its own. Yeah, we really need to watch here. This line of storms that has developed is starting to interact with these individual cells that are out ahead of the line. So that, like I mentioned earlier, can increase the vorticity locally, especially when the line is moving south-southeast and these cells are moving more north-northeast. That you can already see right there. If I simplify it a little bit further this way, that already increases your vorticity there just by the directional shear that those two areas are creating there. So areas like this here, where the cell is merging into the line, that is an area that we definitely have to pay attention to. And then also out ahead here where the line is starting to interact with the cell. Yeah, see, there's some rotation up here too, where this cell is merging into the line. So this is another area we do have to watch. Chelsea, Prospect, Pontiac, Rosilia, maybe over towards Ivanpah, north of El Dorado, Kansas. That area does show some rotation. Yeah, here's the cell that's merging into this line. So we definitely need to watch that area. And then checking out our storm here near Dale. We should be getting a scan in a minute or two. So it's now pretty much right over Dale. Looks like the velocity is lagging behind, but if the CC and the reflectivity are in time, then not seeing a debris signature. So that's still a radar indicated tornado. Just double checking, yeah. All of our storms right now are the ones, we have really two storms that are, or three storms that are tornado warned. There's a couple multiple warnings, but we have a storm just on the north side of Topeka. That's on our camera, our traffic camera. We have a storm southeast of Wichita, and then we have a storm that's just been sitting over Hobart, Oklahoma, in Kiowa County, Oklahoma. So right now, those are our three tornado warned storms. We have a slew of severe thunderstorm warnings, 18 severe thunderstorm warnings. A couple of these have shown rotation at points. This one is still pretty broad, but it's worth watching. That is coming over towards Melcher, Dallas, south of Pleasantville, Iowa. These are slowly starting to clear I-35, so that's good to see. Some rotation still in the storm south of Garden Grove. And then also some rotation still in this cell here near Elston and Grand River, north of Grand River. I also want to check our storm that was coming through Ames. It had some rotation earlier. Does not look like it does now. So that is a good sign for Ames. Just a good severe thunderstorm warning there. All right, this storm here near Grantville is starting, it started to wrap up, and then it quickly kind of became outflow dominant here. So we're seeing still a little rotation back here near Grantville on 4, but you can see this surge here of wind that's come out of the storm. A bit of its own rain-cooled air. But yeah, we need to watch out. It may be starting to produce a new area south and east. Essentially, it's cycling and replacing its meso. But now we have some new rain-cooled air pushing out, and then we have our inflow coming in like this. So we need to watch this area. If it can develop a rotation, it would be between Grantville and Perry. Still a little rotation, though, near the Grantville area. This storm is a dangerous storm. On top of the tornado warning, it's consistently had a really good hail core in it. Meridian over to Grantville, Lakeside Village. We should be able to get a good view at our traffic camera. Okay, there. Our traffic camera just updated, and we're out of the storm now. Looking back into it, our traffic camera here is at Minokan at US 75 and US 24. Still severe thunderstorms south of Topeka. Topeka itself may have gotten just missed. The strongest part of the storm has basically been on the Kansas River and points north. Still, though, if you're in the areas here, Tecumseh down to Big Springs, Grover, Lecompton, Perry, Newman, Thompsonville, you guys need to be in your safe space. In addition to the tornado, this has a potential to have 60 to 70 mile an hour winds in it. That would be coming actually through Grantville right now. And when you factor in the larger hail that's up in here, if you have some 60 to 70 mile an hour winds and large hail, that is going to cause its own damage issues. Let me see if I can get a camera that's out in front now that this camera has is kind of behind the storm right now. Let's see. Let's see. So this is also just behind the storm. We can see the clouds and a bit of the deck of the clouds here. This is in Tecumseh, or basically Topeka Boulevard southeast, which is down in this area here. That may be our best look, at least at looking at we're looking kind of at the back part of these storms near Tecumseh and Grantville. The next cameras that are out ahead of this would be the Lawrence area. Let's see what that has. See what Lawrence has. Unfortunately, there's not much north of Lawrence. All right, we'll take this camera here. This is Kansas 10 on the west side of Lawrence, over here to 10 and 40 near what is that, 6th Avenue, West 6th Avenue. Yeah. All right, new tornado warning just as we're talking. It's going to be again for the Kiowa County storm. They're just making adjustments to it while it's still just sitting there. It has better rotation than it did earlier. Let me just slide you guys a little further this way. Yeah, it has better rotation. It's still in this area. It's finally left the Hobart area, but this area is still now between Babs and Roosevelt over towards Cooperton. This is your new tornado warned area. Still down 183, Cold Springs, Roosevelt, Cooperton. Luckily not seeing a lot of other towns in here. But we're looking at radar out of the Wichita Falls area. So we're seeing pretty strong winds away from the radar, pretty strong winds towards the radar, and kind of a bit of a shear zone up into. It's rotating. It's just it's a bit broad. There's still there's a lot of grays in here where the reds and greens are meeting. So it's a bit loose still for rotation, but it's rotating. It also looks better on radar. The presentation of it is better than it has been. So that's another sign it's trying to do something. What's happened is I think it's sat here for so long, it's created its own rain-cooled boundary. We can see that actually coming out of the storm because it's been sitting here for probably 2 hours now. And the rotation is starting to form on that southern side where the rain-cool boundary is meeting some of that warm, humid inflow. So there's definitely potential here as this continues to wrap up that it could drop a tornado. That would be between Babs and Roosevelt and headed over towards Cooperton. It's not moving much. It's probably moving, luckily it's moving probably a little more than it was earlier. But tornado and baseball size hail and still just 10 miles of forward progress. Hobart and Gatibo, I think that's how you say it. You guys are out of the tornado warning, so especially now, since you're out of the tornado warning, you need to start worrying about the flood warning here. We have flood warnings that have gone up for this whole area and probably close to 4 inches of rain. Looks like a new flood warning down towards Cooperton and Gatibo. We really need to start worrying Hobart over to Gatibo about your flood threat. And also, you're still a little too close to comfort for Babs. You gotta still stay in your safe space with that tornado warned storm, especially just to the south of Babs. It's starting to try. It's trying to wrap itself up here, right around the Roosevelt area. Let's see if we can find anything in here. Okay, still just meteorological targets. So again, not seeing any CC drop. It's probably the tightest it's been though since we've started really paying attention to it. So that definitely has a potential to increase here. Checking in on our rotation over near Floral, Kansas and Akron. It's still in here, but it's a bit weaker than it was earlier. Still could pose a tornadic threat. It was definitely stronger near Kellogg. It was really trying. It's weakened, but still has a potential here, especially since its hook is a bit rain-free. We may not be fully seeing the rotation since the radar has to have targets to see the amount of well, we see the velocity through seeing the velocity of the particles, of the water particles. And since we're not seeing a lot of water particles there, we may not be seeing a lot of that rotation. So there could be actually a stronger rotation there than we're actually seeing. So Floral, north side of Winfield, Floral, New Salem, Burden, up towards the areas west of Atlanta, Kansas. You guys need to be in your safe space here. Also some large hail showing up in those. They're going to extend the warning here for our tornado warned storm coming out of the Topeka area. This is now for Perry, Kanawha, and especially North Lawrence. You guys are now in the tornado warning along 70, along US 70 or I-70. Is that the Kansas Turnpike out here? That is a tornado warned storm near Perry and Lecompton. I know we called you guys out earlier. Hopefully you're in your safe space. Also Williamstown, Midland, Lawrence and North Lawrence. Areas just north of Kanawha. We're looking that direction. Yeah, we're looking that direction towards Lawrence right now. So again, on the camera here, that is the direction of the storm. Our camera is on K10 here and 40. So it's right about here looking this way. It's looking up towards I-70. I don't think we're going to get a chance to see it from this direction, but this is a very interesting storm. So you have hail here. It's wrapped itself around itself. And yeah, rotation has picked up. It's a bit messy right now, but there's rotation over Perry. And still not seeing any debris signature on this. This is actually some heavy rain and hail. The wind, yeah, it's wrapped itself up pretty tight. There's a bit of a weak echo region here. Even there's a donut hole, and some of the yellows and greens that we're seeing is actually hail that's wrapped itself around here, which a lot of times hail does not show up in the hook. So this is so tightly wound that it's blown a bit of hail through here. So that's a dangerous storm here. Let me grab a quick drink and then we'll take a look at this. This is on US 24 and US 59 north of Lawrence right now. This is honestly, the tornado warning goes for Lawrence and North Lawrence, Bismarck Grove, north of Kanawha, but ooh. Williamstown, you guys need to be in your safe space. Perry, Williamstown, Lecompton, over to Midland. This is quickly tightening itself up. This could be dropping a tornado here at any moment here. I would also consider being in your safe space if you're coming over north of Lawrence. North Lawrence up to Reno. You guys need to really start taking this seriously if you're up along 70. And then also up 59 from Lawrence, north of I-70. Maybe as far as Tonganoxie, Kansas. This is really starting to wrap itself up. We can see the circulation really tightening here over Perry, Kansas right now. And we're going to have to check here. There could be, we'll have to check the CC. We're going to wait for this CC. We're looking at the storm too. This is a view of the storm from K10 and 40 on the west side of Lawrence. Can really see the wall of rain here just sitting north of us. North of the viewpoint here. Yeah, we're right down in here. Our camera is right here near Kanawha, looking up into that rain shaft. So not going to see the tornado from that perspective likely, but let's just wait for this next CC scan here. I'm going to grab a quick drink real quick. Okay, we're back here. I want to take a look here at this storm. Our scan has maybe not come in yet. Let's see. This is really starting to wrap itself up. You can see the rotation in this storm. So rotation is sitting right in here. Yeah, this is very close. If it's not producing a tornado right now, Perry along US 2459. This is basically right over 2459 here east of Perry now. And I'm pretty surprised we're not seeing any debris signatures showing up yet with this storm. It's a pretty tight area of rotation here, so I'm curiously waiting on the next scan as we back up here. This is a dangerous storm here between Lawrence and Perry, Kansas. Williamstown needs to be in your safe space, lowest level, into your room, away from doors and windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. If you have a basement or a tornado storm shelter, that's even better. Midland, North Lawrence, Williamstown. While we're waiting on next scans, let me just look in here. I don't see any town names up in here, but if you live north of Lawrence, especially north of I-70, Bismarck Grove, Midland, up to Williamstown and points north and east of that, you need to be in your safe space. I would also consider to start moving that way if you're in Tonganoxie or Reno, Kansas. This is quickly a pretty dangerous supercell here coming into Lawrence. I want to quickly check our other tornado warned storm in Kiowa and Comanche County, Oklahoma. This is rotating more than it was earlier. So that's good that it's somewhat out in a rural area, but there's still a couple towns in here. Roosevelt, Cold Spring, Cooperton that needs to worry about this storm. If you live out here, Kiowa and Comanche County, Oklahoma, that is getting tighter right over the Roosevelt area. So we need to really worry about that. And then also we need to worry about the flooding in Hobart over to Gatineau. We'll quickly get back to the Kansas storm when the radar scan comes in. But until we do, just the storm, yeah, this is bad. This is bad out here by Hobart. This is basically raining about an inch every 30, 40 minutes. At least what the radar's picking up here. So we're now up to about 4 inches of rain in this area from Hobart down to Babs. And this is an area that doesn't get that much rain. This is a bit more of an arid area near the Texas Panhandle and southwest Oklahoma. So this is a lot of rain. Hobart, Babs, Comalty, Oklahoma, in addition to the tornado threat there. So that is not great there. The storm that was in Winfield looks like lost its rotation, so that's good news there. Still need to watch here as it collides into this boundary. We're also getting Latham. Those are some very strong winds, probably 60-mile-an-hour winds plus coming to Latham. So really need to watch the wind threat that's developing here south and east of Wichita. I've said it a few times, I think, but the wind threat is especially increasing Eureka over to Humboldt, Fredonia, Cedar Valley, eventually over towards Independence, Carsons, and Pittsburgh, Kansas. Here in southeast Kansas, that is a dangerous storm. Yeah, so that, in addition to our storm here, and it is now an observed tornado. Rain-wrapped tornado was reported here by emergency management. That's what I talked about earlier. We have a rain-wrapped tornado on the ground north of Lawrence, Kansas. Ooh. Yeah, it's really coming rotating here right along 2459. We started to see it really wrap up here near Perry. It's now moved east along 2459 in the Williamstown area. We can see we can check out the correlation coefficient and see what we're finding in here. Interesting, not seeing a big CC drop. There are a couple CC values that are lower in here in the greens. A lot of times that can be rain-wrapped hail. Still not seeing one. at least on the CC, but the velocity shows a pretty different storm here. The velocity shows a pretty tight area of rotation and a strong area of rotation. You can see here, it really got his act together. We were warning about it earlier. The original area of rotation north of Grantsville. We warned about a new area of rotation picking up along the south flank there of the storm. And that started to, you can see the inbound winds picking up as the southern flank here, the rear flank was gusting out. And that has really wrapped itself up right around the Perry area. Starting to really wrap itself up there. And then there, I was pretty confident we'd probably see a tornado signature on the next scan, because that is showing a pretty strong gate to gate, 98 outbound and 22 inbound. So that's over 110, 120 basically gate to gate. So that should be a tornado on the ground. And very interesting, I'm not seeing that CC damage. It's not lofting debris to the level of our radar site. But let's continue this as a tornado on the ground. It's been reported by law enforcement as a rain wrap tornado. Yeah, still not seeing the CC. This is just north of Midland, Kansas. This is a storm that's going to be a problem for the Kansas City area. If it holds together. Not probably the same tornado, but it could be a problem here. Okay, I want to update my stream a little bit. And then there we go. So this is a observed tornado here, rain wrap tornado north of Lawrence. And I also want to share this out to as many people as possible, but this is a very dangerous storm here, north side of Lawrence, Kansas. You guys need to be in your tornado safety space here. We're going to check on that storm in Kiowa County pretty soon too. Yeah, Lawrence north, Lawrence and points north. You guys need to be in your safe space. And again, not in the warning yet, but I would consider going to my safe space if I was in Tonganoxie, Kansas. Over towards Reno, Kansas. Let me get a track on this. This is moving east at 30. Yeah, Tonganoxie, Reno. This is generally headed your direction. So let's start to get into your safe space here, Tonganoxie. This storm has produced a damaging tornado near west of Topeka. This is in Westmoreland, Kansas, where a tornado sucked a storm manhole cover out of the road, according to storm chasers out there. All right, taking a look at our rotation here. It's broadened a bit, but we have our inbound winds, outbound winds, a bit more grays in here, so I'm liking the at least the velocity couplet, but we can check in here. Yeah, this is an interesting storm. I'm still not seeing the CC drop like we'd expect to see. There's a couple lower values, but I think that may be some heavy rain and hail that's wrapping in here. It almost looks like there's a debris ball there, but there's no debris showing up on the CC. That could be something. That would be generally where that rotation is. So maybe we're seeing something on reflectivity that that we're just not seeing on the correlation coefficient. Which generally, if you do see a debris ball, you generally will see. See, there wasn't anything here near Perry. There was some hail wrapping into this, so that could be some hail in there. Yeah, that is an interesting radar presentation. This, either way, is a rain-wrapped tornado. Also, this is one of the more interesting radar presentations or warnings that I've seen. This must be the range of the Topeka NWS. They extended a tornado warning basically in this Skinny Hill area here. I've never seen a warning like that. I would guess that then this must be the KC NWS and this is the Topeka. So if a warning gets extended, it would be the Kansas City's NWS, which I would, if you're out ahead of this, Tonganoxie, Reno, and areas north and east of Lawrence, it's time to start taking your tornado safety measures here, because this is getting pretty close to the edge of its current warning, and it's drifting a little more north towards Tonganoxie. Good news here, and we can see it on our camera now too, is the skies are clearing a little bit here along K10 and 40 on the west side of Lawrence. If you're west side of Lawrence, you're getting some general rain and thunderstorms, but Kanwaka, you guys are clear. And also, if you're Lawrence south of I-70, you guys are clear. Midland, still a little too close to your comfort. Stay in your safe spot just a few more minutes. And then once that back edge comes through, the tornado is actually north of Midland, but there's still maybe some hail in there. So we need to worry next about Tonganoxie. It's definitely broadened up, but if this wraps back up again, we could have an issue for Tonganoxie. And still not seeing that CC drop like we would expect. But again, this was rain-wrapped tornado by emergency management. I don't tend to downplay any credible tornado reports, and it did go observed for a while based on that. But I wonder if being so rain-wrapped, the spotter may have seen the rain curtains rotating, but maybe not exactly the contact with the ground. So we may have gotten very lucky here. We'll have to wait and see if there's any damage reports. Because either way, that was wrapping up really tight over Perry and Williamstown. And Hopefully, maybe it was just a mezzo that was really low to the ground and really rain wrapped, but didn't touch the ground. We'll have to see though. That had good rotation for a good while here. So again, we're gonna have to see here what the next weather service wants to do with it, because it's broadened back out some, but it still is rotating. We may be able to get a look at this too from the Kansas City radar. So there it is right here on the Kansas City side for the radar. So it's up in here near Tonganoxie. Kansas City's, I wonder if they have anything different for the CC. Okay. So weirdly, the Kansas City radar may have actually shown the CC drop. If I take it there and then show the CC over Williamstown, there's a bit more clutter there. That could have been it. Either way, this likely isn't on the ground at the moment. And the Kansas City is going to continue this as a severe thunderstorm tornado possible. We really need to take this seriously though, because it's also being warned for 2.5-inch hail and 70-mile-an-hour winds. So this is coming into Kansas City with tennis ball size hail and possible tornado. Likely drop the tornado here briefly. So if you're in Lawrence, your tornado warning is good. If you're out here towards 24 and 59, Perry, Thompsonville, Lecompton, you guys are all out of the tornado warning. In addition to the tornado reports, we're already quickly seeing hail reports come in. Here is 1.75-inch hail from another emergency management source. Yeah, I'm interested to see if there's a tornado, if there was a tornado in there, because we were getting like 2/3 of the radar was saying tornado on the ground, but the CC wasn't, and we were decently close to the radar, so I would have thought that we would have picked up the CCs. There's some rotation in this storm here near Corydon and Millertown and Confidence in Iowa that we need to keep our eye on. Just general thunderstorms now, basically north of I-80. The severe thunderstorm threat didn't really materialize, it seems, up near the Minnesota border much. There's some general thunderstorms coming through Albert Lee, Minnesota right now. Non-severe, just gusty winds. And luckily, a lot of the bigger storms missed the Omaha metro. It's a pretty big storm here between Maryville and Grant City in northern Missouri. Likely some large hail in there near Parnell and Sheridan. This is being warned for 2.5-inch hail, so that's tennis ball size hail at least up in there. And this is moving at 45. So tennis ball size hail coming towards Grant City. You guys need to be interior room, lowest level. This is a big storm here coming towards Kansas City, and I'm going to go jump with the traffic cam and see if we can get a traffic cam out of the KC Metro here. Have to find a camera that's working. The storms must interfere with the cameras because they're very finicky around these storms. Oh, I don't know if it's weather related, but The Kansas City traffic camera site says temporary outage of camera images and electronic signs in the Kansas City area, at least on the website. So I don't know if their website is picking up the cameras. All right, so we'll go back to our working camera out of Lawrence. This is K10 and 40 on the west side of Lawrence. So you can see the storm moving off to the east here up by the Kansas Drive logo. So that darker area is the storm moving off. We could not see the tornado from this angle, but that was our closest camera to this tornado warned storm. I want to quickly go back to the Comanche County, Oklahoma storm. It's still just sitting here and still has some rotation between Roosevelt and Cooperton in Oklahoma. But a bigger problem is probably 4 inches of rain plus in this area from Hobart down towards now Cooperton. So that is a bigger flood threat here. Some rotation also starting to show up in this cell that is crossing the Red River. Yeah, that is entering Oklahoma now. And definitely near Tipton, it has some rotation picking up here between Burnt, Tipton, and Mantua, right in there. And we're pretty close to the radar, so this is actually decently low-level rotation. I'm somewhat surprised there's not a tornado warning on this storm yet. Let's back it up and see what it looked like just a minute ago. Yeah, the rotation definitely is picking up here. So that is you're between Tipton and Mantua, Oklahoma. You definitely need to be aware of that storm. New tornado warning for an observed tornado. It was that storm that I mentioned near Corydon. This is an observed tornado. And I need to update our all right, updating the streaming title. Confirmed tornado located near Millertown or Millerton, 9 miles northeast of Corydon, moving east at 30. So it's up in this area. I called that area out earlier, but yeah, Russell, Zero, Melrose, Confidence. We called you guys out earlier. Mystic and Plano, Promise City. You guys all need to get to your tornado safe space. This is moving east at 30. Honestly, Promise City and Plano, this is going to pass to your north. Confidence, Melrose, Zero, Russell, Tyrone, and Iconium definitely need to be in your safe space here. There may actually be 2 areas of rotation to worry about. There's one, well, yeah, now Plano and Promise City, you guys need to be in your safe space too. There's definitely rotation picking up on that southern end of the storm. That would also be over towards Mystic and Centerville. Let's see what exactly is going on in this storm. There are kind of 2 areas of rotation. The one on the north end seems to be weakening a bit. We're a little far from the radar though, so hard to fully tell, but there's your debris signature in there around the Millertown area. Yeah, that tightened up a little bit there. But I'm worried about this area also here near Plano and Promise City. So if you're in this tornado warning, definitely take this whole area as a possible tornado. Russell, Melrose, Tyrone, Confidence, Iconium, Walnut City, Rathbun, Clarkdale, Mystic, Plano, Promise City. You guys all need to be in your safe spaces there. And yeah, okay, that area near Frederick is going to get a tornado warning. interesting placement for this. I'm not trying to criticize the weather service much, but I guess it's just kind of sitting there. But it is an observed tornado now too. Confirmed tornado located 4 miles southeast of Tipton, moving south at 5. Okay. So it's for this area here, but I guess the tornado itself is moving to the south. Very interesting. Okay. Essentially, this storm is just sitting over itself. But there is your area here between Tipton and Burnt. And yeah, I think we're seeing a little bit right in here. There is your tornado debris signature. Yeah, that should be basically it right there. So there's your tornado, Tipton over to Mantua, and then even down to Frederick in case this slides south again. You guys need to be in your tornado safe space here. Tipton, Mantua, Frederick. We're seeing that debris indication. And here is, it's a bit of a weak echo, but there is your supercell and your hook, and your tornado sitting right down in there. So pretty tight area of rotation right there. That is a confirmed tornado there in southwest Oklahoma. Northwestern Tillman County. Yeah, it's basically just sitting here. It's moving south at 5. Still, let's take our safety precautions here if you're in Frederick, and especially if you're north of Frederick, Burnt, Mantua, Tipton. There's also some large hail in this storm to the south that is trying to come into this tornado warning too, and a little bit of rotation actually in that storm too along the Red River. So watching that area as well. It's in essentially the exact same environment as the storm that's producing a tornado near Tipton. There's also damaging winds likely spiraling out of the storm near Hedrick and Schneider. This is a pretty tight couplet here between Tipton, Burnt, and Mantua. You guys definitely need to be in your safe space. There's your tornado right there. That is right there. Yeah, that is your tornado. So again, winds going away from the radar and winds coming towards the radar. I was pretty surprised when I saw this didn't have a warning because the radar is actually right here. So we're also getting a very low level look at this circulation between Burnt and Tipton. There is your hook, and there is your tornado debris. Luckily, this is probably an area that there's not a lot. That doesn't mean there's not anyone out here, but we're not getting a ton of debris. Hopefully, just because hopefully it's out in the middle of a field. But we need to take it seriously if it's, especially if it's on the ground. Let me see if I can get a report of it. We might be able to. I don't know if there's anyone on this storm. But that is definitely a signature there. Yeah, and it's actually got stronger right in there. The reflectivity may be a step behind, but this is actually, well, let's put this into motion. This actually may be coming towards the Tipton area. Yeah, even though the report is south, it looks like it started a little more towards Burnt, and it's now sliding a little west. So yeah, especially if you're west of this, southwest Tipton and Burnt and still Mantua need to be in your safe space. But this is, I think this has come up more like this. This is a very interesting storm. Yeah, let's get back to our storm. And Lawrence is clear. Lawrence shouldn't have a tornado warning at the moment, but let's go up and check. Yeah, you guys, if you're in Lawrence, can come out of your safe space. Let's just double check. You still have some general thunderstorms, basically all around the Lawrence area, towards Eudora. That's a particularly strong one out on Kansas 10. But Lawrence, your tornado warning is over. The storm that was producing the tornado is up near Tonganoxie, and looks like rotation has definitely weakened. So I don't see an imminent tornado possible, but this whole area has 60-mile-an-hour winds and a tornado possible, and some hail in it. So especially if you're going from Lawrence back to KC, it's not the best drive for that right now, but if you can maybe hold off and not take that drive right now, it'd be good to let the storm pass. This is a severe warning headed up towards Fairmont, Lansing, Weatherby Lake, Edwardsville, Shawnee, Overland Park. You guys are going to want to be into your room, away from windows, especially with like wind-driven hail. But the tornado threat, at least for the short term, seems to be a little lower with this storm. And again, yeah, Lawrence, you guys are out of a tornado warning. You guys are done with the tornado warning. I'm trying to see if there's any update on the... Not seeing any damage reports in this area yet, so that's a good sign. Maybe it didn't quite get the ground. But this storm means business. It has hail, it has damaging winds, even without a tornado. And then I want to check our friends up here in Iowa. Still an observed tornado on the cell here near Centerville. And yeah, there's still maybe something up here, but it's this area rotation that's coming towards Centerville is pretty concerning here. Yeah, no problem. Let's see, that would be coming towards Moulton and Moravia and Blacksburg. There's a lot of storms all over, so I apologize if we're jumping around, but trying to cover as many people as we can. But yeah, this is actually a pretty widespread severe weather day. We've had severe weather from basically the northern Iowa, Minnesota border. Let's see. So right now we have strong thunderstorms actually on the Minnesota border, and we've had severe thunderstorms all the way down through Iowa, through Kansas, and through now Oklahoma, and also even down into West Texas. So this has actually been a pretty big severe weather day, which it only started to really look like it was going to be a big severe weather day just a couple days ago, just as everybody was kind of getting through the weekend's severe weather. All right, so Kansas, right now, Kansas, in addition to Lawrence, there are no tornado warnings in Kansas right now. Still have to watch, though, especially southeast Kansas. We still have to watch the areas here towards Pittsburgh and Joplin, east of Wichita and south of Wichita. Oh, let's see. We still have our storm that's sitting over the area between Hobart and Roosevelt and Cooperton. It's maybe sliding further south. So a new tornado warning has been issued for this area here, Mountain Park, Schneider, the Tom Steed Reservoir. If you're out on Tom Steed Reservoir, you guys need to take your tornado safety measures. Just a interesting interaction here between this whole... Wow. Okay, yeah, I mentioned earlier that this thing was sliding towards Tipton, Oklahoma. Tipton, you guys need to be in your safe space. This is probably the best couplet we've seen, I think, so far. But that's moved definitely now northwest towards Tipton. It started around the Burnt area, just north of Burnt, and it's come up like this. There's also... a bunch of weird interaction going on here according to the velocities between these storms. So you have our tornado here near Tipton, and you have the storm. Its parent storm is kind of like this. It has some outflow, somewhat like this. It's actually interacting with our tornadic storm up by Roosevelt, and you can see that on the velocities. We have outbound winds coming north of Mountain Park, and then we have our area rotation was already there, but then we have inbound winds pushing out like this. I'm very intrigued to see what is going to happen here with that boundary that's setting up between these two storms. That is something I don't recall seeing. This is a really tight area of circulation here near the Tipton area. So let's make sure we're definitely in our tornado safe place here. And then still seeing rotation here near Roosevelt. We'll really have to see what happens when this whole area is an interesting area of convergence. Yeah, you can see, look at this. This is amazing. Let me just put the whole thing into motion. So our Tipton tornado is moving basically northwest. And then our area of rotation and our storm essentially near Roosevelt is moving south. So here's our area of rotation moving basically south. And you can see the outflow winds are now pushing up against this storm. It's I mean, it's almost mesmerizing looking at this. It looks like a lava lamp. But that is that's a whole class right there. That is very interesting. We have to watch actually a few areas where these storms are interacting. It looks like there is some more localized vorticity south of Roosevelt now, so we have to watch that area. And then also they just issued a new warning for radar indicated. This is, if it actually holds together, it's in the Tipton area now, but also Hedrick, areas southeast of Altus, Oklahoma. Need to really watch this storm. It has a pretty tight area rotation just near Tipton. And this may luckily slide just to the north of Tipton. It had an observed tornado on it for a while, and now it's radar indicated. There's a couple lower CC values in here that I'm a little suspicious of. There may be something in there, but it's going to be really hard to tell. That's the good news is it's not taking up a lot of debris. And then the storm to the south of the Tipton storm is also interacting with everything. It's actually sliding more east. Yeah, very interesting. So storm here is basically sliding more east. This storm is sliding kind of northwest. And then this storm here is kind of sliding south-southwest. All in fairly small space. I can't recall seeing that. Yeah, basically like a 55-mile space. You have three storms, very close proximity to each other, moving very different directions. That is wild. Still in here, it's a little, yeah, there may be something in here. It's hard to tell. They're gonna they're gonna warn this whole area. So let's see, what do we have? We have a new observed tornado. Damaging tornado and golf ball size hail. Tornado producing storms were located along a line extending from near Cooperton to near and southwest of Roosevelt, moving southeast at 5. The tornado was reported just south of Cooperton about 10 minutes ago. Locations near Roosevelt, Tom Steed Reservoir should take immediate tornado precautions. Yeah, I mentioned Tom Steed Reservoir a while ago. They're going to warn this whole area. And yeah, I think 10 minutes ago, we saw the rotation near Cooperton. Yeah, this area right here that blew up. And that's what I was talking about. We had the outflow of the one storm in the red and orange colors meeting the green, the inbound colors of the storm moving south. This is crazy. Here, I'm going to move our DOT camera right now. That way there's just a picture of everything. New area, they're warning the whole area, but this is an area of localized vorticity over here, south of Roosevelt. That's the area that I think originally had the rotation. But yeah, we can see that area pick up near Cooperton. That area's backed off a little bit. There's still a little bit of an area here. This whole area is possibly tornadic. That's why they warned it like this. But there's rotation here. There's rotation here. And there can be rotation essentially along a shear line along this boundary between these two storms. And then we still have our Tipton area of rotation. That's a well-defined area of rotation moving northwest. And that was stronger a couple minutes ago. That one, I think, had a confirmed tornado for a minute. But watch that. It started out, and then it quickly lifts northwest. And now it's actually lifting a little more north. Yeah, it's kind of made this like this S curve. So if you're up towards the Hedrick area, Hedrick, Oklahoma, you need to be worried about this area rotation to your south. It looks like it's maybe moving more northerly. And then also you're close to the warning for this area rotation and probably that area. But this area is moving more south. What a setup. This is all happening between Altus and Lawton, Oklahoma. So, and flood threat, definitely flood threat for all those areas. Okay, back up here, we had a new tornado warning for Centerville. I mentioned you guys earlier. That rotation here, there was a confirmed tornado on the northern rotation. That has since weakened. That's pretty much gone. But the new area rotation to worry about is here near Centerville and Mystic. This is coming up towards Udall, Unionville, Drakesville, Bloomfield, Moulton. And we can also check and see if they've upped any changes on this. Moving east at 35. So I'll take this out here for our people in Iowa that are watching. Oops. The tracker sometimes has a mind of its own, but east at 35. We'll take it towards Udall in about 7 minutes, Paris 20 minutes, and West Grove about 20 to 25 minutes. If it holds together, Bloomfield in 35 minutes. You guys are right on the edge of the warning in Bloomfield. But this is an area rotation just in the Centerville area. It's generally moving east. So if it does hold together, Bloomfield would be the next larger town in that circulation. And let's see. Storms are basically non-severe north of there. So Des Moines, there's maybe some small hail up in some of these storms and gusty winds, but all non-severe right now. And then some larger storms right along the Iowa and Missouri border. Ping pong ball size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. A little bit of broad rotation in that by Grant City to keep our eye on, but those storms are just major hailstorms. And then going back into the Kansas City metro, we had our originally tornado-warned storm come out through Tonganoxie. That area, what's left of that storm is between Fairmount and downtown Kansas City, and not seeing rotation like we did earlier. So this does not appear, if you have friends in the Kansas City area, this does not appear to be a tornadic threat at the moment. So some good news there. Some of the other good news is the hail core is coming down. We're not seeing those bright purples and pinks like we did earlier. So that is good news, but still heavy rain, gusty winds along 435 there towards Weatherby Lake and then eventually towards downtown KC. Also watching a strong storm near Linwood and DeSoto. That's going to be coming into Lenexa and Overland Park. Basically all of Kansas City right now is in a severe thunderstorm warning. This covers basically everything east of Lawrence, down towards Gardner and Belton, up along the areas around Independence, Liberty, and then south of Smithville, south of the airport, and then over towards Kansas City, Kansas, and then Fairmount. I do want to check this area. Looks a little suspicious, but there is an area of rotation in this storm near DeSoto that we're going to have to watch. It's on the southern end, so it's getting a little bit of the ability to tap some of that inflow, but it's generally weak broad rotation at the moment. So that's good news. That's actually the storm that looks like it has larger hail. If any of the storms here in the Kansas City area had larger hail, it'd be this area here near DeSoto that's moving towards Shawnee and Overland Park. So if you're essentially in the KC area, let's just get away from the windows, get into a sturdy structure, away from windows, and you guys will be good to go. We'll get you through this, especially just a few hail cores coming through the KC area right now. Lawrence, you're all good. Topeka, you're all good. Up through Rossville, Silver Lake, St. Mary's. Essentially, if you're west of this cluster of storms, you're good. So even areas like St. Joseph, Atchison, Maryville, Tarkio in northwest Missouri, you guys are all good. And then also Nebraska, Lincoln, Omaha, and now also pushing out of Des Moines. You guys are pretty much on the back end of the storms. Areas south of Wichita are still in a big mess of storms. Winfield, this could also be a flood threat. There are a lot of heavy thunderstorms with some really gusty winds in here. There are a couple areas of rotation. That one near Mayfield is intriguing. But also some hail in here too. Oxford, Winfield, over towards Cambridge, Howard, Severy. That whole area is fairly severe. Anthony, this is all wind and hail south of Wichita. If you're in the Wichita area, you're good. But if you're planning on driving south on 35, that is going to be a rough drive towards Belle Plaine and Wellington. Let's check our mess of storms here. Well, let's just okay, good. So the West Texas storms aren't severe at the moment. Still watching a storm in northern Mexico. It is drifting east. That is one to watch if you're in Comstock, Texas, maybe as far south towards the Del Rio area. That is a big hailstorm over the mountains of northern Mexico here. And if it holds together, it could be eventually towards the Del Rio area. We did have a request for Puerto Rico, so I will check that while we're a little bit tornadic free at the moment. So Puerto Rico, everything looks pretty good right now. It looks like just a bunch of trade wind showers and storms, especially on the southern end of the island and eastern ends of the island right now. I assume a lot of the daytime heating is finished here, so similar to Florida and the Gulf Coast, that the storms likely diminish after. I am not an expert on Puerto Rican weather, but I assume similar to Florida and the Gulf Coast that storms tend to weaken after sunset with the loss of daytime heating. We're going to have a video on that anyone from Puerto Rico would be interested in coming up, but also anyone on the Gulf Coast and East Coast. We're going to have a video coming up on the hurricane forecasts for this year. The waters in the Atlantic Basin are already on par with water temperatures of late June to early July. So it's already like bathtub water in the Gulf Coast. Generally, July is when you start seeing a bit of an uptick in hurricane and tropical systems. So just the tropical season is likely going to start pretty early in the Atlantic Basin. And they're expecting, all of the experts are expecting a pretty furious Atlantic hurricane season. So we're going to have a video on that. I was going to make one actually like this today or tomorrow, but we had an uptick in severe weather. There was a chance of severe weather in the Northeast today, and that has also panned out. It looks like a gusty line of showers with some possible hail in here between Allentown, Easton, and Bangor in eastern Pennsylvania. They do also seem to be diminishing with the daytime heating. It is now 7:55 Central, so it's about 9 o'clock, close to 9 o'clock Eastern. So these should start losing their punch, especially after they get out of this area. But if you're in basically northern New Jersey and also eastern Pennsylvania, there's still a chance of some gusty showers and storms. Particularly this cell here near Raritan Township has a little bit of hail likely in it. And then there's a storm up by Dover, New Jersey that likely has a little hail in it. 40-mile-an-hour wind and half-inch hail. That's probably what I would say. The storms here that are severe warned, they're probably coming down to that kind of level too. So this storm near Raritan, Bridgewater may have that same aspect to it, about 40-mile-an-hour winds and half-inch hail. And actually, they're just going to do the same. Sometimes I think the Weather Service is watching this. They're going to put a new special weather statement out for 40-mile-an-hour winds and half-inch hail. So, hi, Weather Service. All right, back to Kansas City. Since we do have people watching from the Kansas City area, DeSoto to the areas around Overland Park. This is your strongest cell, I think, right now in the Kansas City area. And yeah, it doesn't appear to be rotating as much as it did earlier. So I think the tornado threat seems to be diminishing quite a bit into the Kansas City metro. And a little bit of hail on the north side, Victory Hills, Bethel, coming up towards Kansas City, Kansas. Maybe if you're in downtown, you might have a little bit of small hail. But these are mostly going to be gusty winds, some small hail, a lot of lightning. So definitely stay inside. Stay away from the windows. And then checking our storm here near Centerville, Udale, Moulton, over towards Bloomfield. Still rotating in here. It's broad, but it's in there. Not seeing any debris signature, so that's good. We're far from the radar site, though, so there could be something that we're just not seeing. But Udale over to Moulton and Orleans, West Grove, Paris. You guys are all in this tornado warning, as well as Drakesville and then areas just to the west of Bloomfield in Iowa. That is a storm. You guys need to be taking your safety precautions. Mystic and Plano, you guys are good. This is all past you guys, so you guys are clear of this warning. There still may be some more gusty winds and hail with some of these storms in southern, south central Iowa. That could still be a problem for areas like Seymour, Plano, Centerville. You guys might have another round of some strong to severe storms. And this area here, this cluster of storms in northern Missouri near Stanberry up to Bethany and over to Ridgeway. Those are right now, I think, our biggest hailstorms in this part of the country, with likely some 1.5 to 2 inch size hail. This one also has a tornado possible. Let's see. This one, actually, this one's being warned for baseball size hail, tennis ball size hail. From Albany, there is some rotation in this cell, so this is another area that's really far from the radar site, so it's hard to see what's going on. But if you're in this area, Albany over to Bethany and Ridgeway, if you can take your tornado safety precautions, you at least have some really large dangerous hail coming at you. And if not, there is a tornado possible still on that. All right, back down to, I want to get back down to this really interesting case study going on here. We've had storms that have basically been sitting over in southwest Oklahoma, and they continue to just interact and kind of play off each other. So we have a storm that's basically now stationary. Actually, a lot of this looks stationary now. The southern storm that was moving east is now basically stationary. The storm that was moving kind of west looks like it's now moving east. And the storm that was moving kind of south is now basically stationary. So, what an interesting weather situation here. There's not much rotation showing up in the Tipton area anymore, so that is good. You can see our rotation has basically disappeared as it curved north from Tipton, and it's gone. So that is good. And I don't think, if it lined up like the radar shows, it looks like this did not go through Tipton. It went just east of Tipton. And it's basically getting picked up and is out of here. So yeah, I don't see any rotation coming up towards Hedrick from at least that side. There's still some rotation in this shear zone south of Roosevelt and over towards Cooperton and south of Cooperton. But you have storms that are kind of pushing north, and their wind is in the red and yellows, and then you have these storms that have been pushing south and their outflows. So there's a bit of a convergence line here right over the Tom Steed Reservoir. And actually still an observed tornado. What time was this done? Okay, it's still from 20 minutes ago, so this still could have something, but it also may not. But there's a few areas near Centerville that have a little interesting areas. There's this area here, still south of Cooperton. But overall, I'm not seeing anything that's like standing out like it was earlier near Tipton. Again, you can see that lift off to the north and then just disappear. So that is very good. That is a good sign. Overall, I think we're on a bit of a downtrend. And then checking in on our storm here near Centerville. They're going to continue this, it looks like, as a severe thunderstorm warning, although there's still something going on in here between Moulton and Unionville. This is a very interesting area. Let's see what it looks like on. Yeah, it's hard to tell what's going on this far from the radar site, but there's likely still rotation in there between Drakesville, Udell, and Unionville, and Moulton. This storm also looks like it has some small hail. It's not warned for any severe weather right now, but north of Derby and south of Lucas, that is likely some larger hail coming up towards Chariton, and maybe as far over towards Russell, if that holds together. Yeah, some of these storms back in here near Chariton also looks like they do have some small hail. A little bit there, but a larger hail core up in here southwest of Chariton. And that may actually be moving your direction. I'll take a look. Yeah, that is somewhat moving your direction. So if you're in Chariton and Russell, it's good to stay away from the windows. It's going to get a severe thunderstorm warning right now for 1-inch hail. But yeah, between Lucas and Derby and headed over towards Chariton and Russell, that is a small but dangerous looking cell. Our storms here are rapidly losing intensity through the Kansas City area. Yeah, they are not looking healthy. And yeah, not seeing much in rotation, so I think our tornado threat for eastern Kansas has largely diminished, and really largely, except for maybe some of these areas near Winfield, but even then there's not much. There's still a little bit here. Where is that? That is near Bluff City. There's maybe a little bit in there. But yeah, I don't see a big tornado threat for much of these storms. That doesn't mean that there can't be another spin up. And same for the storms here in Oklahoma. I'll check on this Frederick radar again. There's still large hail and heavy rain south now of Roosevelt and Cooperton. This area has likely some, what did they warn this for? Likely some 2-inch hail, golf ball size hail, if not even a little bit larger in some of those blue areas here along 183 towards Cold Springs. This area is going to get a new tornado warning. And let's find the new area rotation here. Near Cooperton, we mentioned you guys a little bit ago, this area has picked up. It's kind of moving east. Southeast at 15, 6 miles south of Cooperton. Hail and 2 inches. Or tornado and 2-inch hail is the primary threat there. So let's follow this. Yeah, you can see how those storms are interacting with each other, and there's a new area rotation here south and east at Cooperton. That's generally headed towards Medicine Park, although it's going to be a while. So start thinking of your safe place, but this is closer to Cooperton than it is to Medicine Park, and it's moving southeast at 15. Yeah, southeast at 15. If that holds together, you have Medicine Park in about an hour. Mears about 35 minutes. So Mears over here is a little bit closer to this. This is up in the Kiowa Mountains. So some really rugged territory here. So luckily, I don't think there's many people that live between Mears and Cooperton, which is a good thing. Yeah, that is a new area rotation moving southeast in the Mears area. Very, very interesting dynamics of these storm interactions over here. Yeah, some storms are moving more northerly, some are moving southeast, and a bunch of them are just sitting here. This whole area from Hobart down to Frederick and between Alton and Lawton is a pretty big flood threat. So yeah, I would be careful driving if you're in the Hobart area and down to Lawton, north of Frederick, especially in the Kiowa Mountains here where this tornado warned storm is. It's rugged mountainous territory. There's washes. This could be a dangerous night, especially for flooding. And possibly and likely this area has more danger for the flood threat than the tornado threat right now, especially as the night continues. These storms may continue to rotate, and especially if they're going to be interacting with each other. So here's another area where there's a bit of convergence. And actually you can even see the rotation near Cooperton is like barely moving. I don't even know if it's moving at 15 anymore. It's just actually kind of still there. But there's some areas here, newer areas of convergence near Mountain Park. This whole area could continue to get some tornadoes and quick spin-ups overnight, but the bigger threat here is going to be the flood threat, that these storms are just sitting here. All right, I think we're going to wrap up tonight's stream. But before we do, I just want to take a look for people that are watching. We have what remains tonight of the threat is mostly in southeast Kansas and into Oklahoma, and a little bit here into southern Iowa. As the evening continues, it'll be interesting to see if anything redevelops over by north central Missouri, but right now those storms in Kansas City seem to be fizzling. So I wouldn't be surprised if anything intensifies a little bit, but Kansas City, I think your biggest severe threat is mostly over once those storms pass. Tomorrow gets a little interesting again. Tomorrow, there's actually a different weather system. The weather system that is producing the storms right now is going to move out of the way. So there's a really big area of slight risk. It covers the areas around Omaha and Lincoln. It covers much of central and western Kansas, much of western Oklahoma, the Texas Panhandle, and down into West Texas. There's also an area of enhanced risk that still is basically northwestern Oklahoma and south central Kansas. This is an area west of Wichita, though. This is more like Dodge City. And then there is a broader slight risk that covers the Kansas City area, Oklahoma City, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and essentially rides up along through the Texas Panhandle, and then even a little bit in Colorado. And also a slight risk covers a little bit of Des Moines. But the primary threat out here is going to be larger hail. And also there is a possibility of some tornadoes. Let's see. Okay, they've actually updated. Yeah, basically the tornado threat is now like Kansas City east. So I feel like pretty confident that the Kansas City tornado threat is going down. 5% risk. We had a 5% risk today, and that's actually verified in a couple damaging tornadoes. Likely a couple other tornadoes down here in southwest Oklahoma. We'll have to see. I haven't seen any damage reports out of there. So that's one good thing about those storms over Kiowa County. But there has been a couple damaging tornadoes in northeast Kansas today. That 5% risk is back towards Dodge City, the Texas Panhandle, western Oklahoma, just west of the Wichita area, and over towards Salina, Kansas. So you can see if I zoom in some of the other towns: Hayes, Russell, Dodge City, Medicine Lodge, Perryton, Woodward, Elk City, Memphis, Texas, Childress, Texas. And then there is a larger, slight 2% risk that actually does cover the Dallas-Fort Worth area, back to Big Spring and Midland, Texas, and then all the way up into northeast Kansas, Manhattan, and even a little bit into the area south of Lincoln. So there is a tornado risk tomorrow. There also is a pretty big wind risk for the areas here in north central Kansas and southern Nebraska, and also West Texas. And then I think the bigger risk was hail. Yeah, there's a very large area of hatched risk for large hail. That extends from West Texas all the way up through the Texas Panhandle, western Oklahoma, the areas just west of Wichita, up to Salina, Kansas. And then there's even in Kansas tomorrow a 30% significant hail risk. So park your cars under the carport tomorrow, especially if you're in Woodward, Oklahoma, up to Dodge City, Great Bend, and even as far north as Hayes, Kansas. And really, if you're in this hatched area, if you can park your car into some type of shelter, that would be the best option. Let's close the risks out. I want to check right before we leave here, before we close off the stream. I just do want to check the tornado warns areas. This one is still approaching Bloomfield in Iowa, and it does seem to be on the decrease. So that is a good sign. Could spin back up, but that seems to be on the decrease. Still large hail in some of these southern Oklahoma or southern Iowa counties. Large hail still near Albany, Bethany, Ridgeway. Tornado possible with at least one of those cells. So if you're in northern Missouri, watch out for these large hailers and a potential spin up there. Checking in on Kansas City, you still have the severe storms hanging on, especially on the Kansas side, but they are weakening. So overall, downtrending, maybe some small hail and gusty winds here near Lenexa down to Overland Park, but that is a good sign there. And areas south of Wichita, still some big storms with damaging winds as the primary threat. There is a 70-mile-an-hour wind gust out of areas here near Winfield, and that's going to continue down towards Cedarvale, Peru, probably through the night down into northern Oklahoma, Ponca City area. Yeah, not seeing a lot of spins in here, so that's a good sign. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of a spin up every now and then in that area. And then we did get a new tornado warning. For that southern cell in this cluster. Yeah, I can see it spinning. It's actually right near the radar site. But there is a bit of a spin in here. This is the same environment that produced that pretty strong signature that went up and kind of S-curve near Tipton. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's any more. There could be another quick spin up here near Frederick. This also includes Hollister, Oklahoma, and that looks like it's most of the area there. So it's right in this area, Frederick, moving east at 15. So Frederick and Hollister are your impacted locations. Other rotation is still in here near Cooperton and somewhat going towards Medicine Hat. There's still some areas of shear near Mountain Park, but this area is a mess of storms interacting with each other, so the flood threat is a primary hazard here, but I wouldn't be surprised, like I said earlier, if there's a few more tornado warnings that come out of this southwest Oklahoma area. There's just a lot of now boundaries of storms. They are going to continue a warning now. I called them out a while ago, but Bloomfield, Drakesville, over toward Milton, you guys are now under a new tornado warning. Yeah, there's still some rotation down in here, south and west of Bloomfield. This is generally riding along Iowa Highway 2. So Bloomfield, Steuben, Pulaski, Milton, Wanetta, Stiles, Savannah, Lunsford, Mark, Monterey, West Grove, Shequest, Troy, White Elm, Belknap, Drakesville. You guys are all in a warning for that storm. Yeah, it's kind of southwest of Bloomfield here. This is a storm overnight. As the evening continues, watch out ahead of that. Milton over towards Kiosquara, Bonaparte, Birmingham in Iowa. And then, again, you guys may have another storm or two that produces some larger hail. Maybe another tornado warning would come out of this cluster in northern Missouri. So watch out for that if you're from Bethany over towards Unionville, Trenton, Milan, Green City, and Kirksville. Even if that holds together, that could be in Kirksville later tonight. And let's see, I think that about wraps it up. Yeah, no more severe warnings on the East Coast, so that's good. All right, 8:20. I think we'll wrap up the stream. We got some work to do tomorrow, likely too, with another enhanced risk there in west central Kansas. Hopefully less damaging tornadoes than today. Today actually produced at least 2 damaging tornadoes here. So we'll follow up on those on social media. WXCastUSA at on Twitter. Real quick look here at our camera already showing the storm clouds clearing in Lawrence, Kansas, with the storm clouds moving away off to our right, and then even some blue skies and sunshine showing up just to end the evening there in Lawrence, Kansas. So, all right, everybody, stay safe, stay weather aware, have multiple ways to get warnings, and we'll see you on the next stream. Thanks for joining us.